Hello friends, it's Emily here. You probably know that since you can see my beautiful face on this video. Even though I can't see your beautiful face at this exact moment in time, please know that I can see and feel you in my heart. If you're receiving this first ever video blog from me, it's because I consider you one of my most trusted inner circle supporters. The idea of starting a video blog has been bouncing around in my head for quite some time now. But as you know, my head is a very interesting place to be. Sometimes things get stuck inside there and can't find their way out, and other times when they are ready to find their way out, the human part of Emily gets scared and is a little afraid to be seen. Part of the reason things get stuck inside my head sometimes is because, as you know, I've lived with multiple sclerosis for 40 years. The other part is just because I'm in my 50s and I forget shit. Oh my gosh. Shoot. Oh, and about that afraid to be seen stuff? Well, that mostly comes because I've spent too many years listening to the lie that I'm just not smart enough, not articulate enough, or not good enough for my thoughts and words to matter to anyone. I am done listening to that lie. For me to follow my true calling as a writer, speaker, and inspirational mentor, I have to get way more used to being seen, and that's why I'm on your computer or your phone screen right now. Starting this month, I've made a commitment to do a monthly video blog for my inner circle of friends and family. Down the road, I may start doing it weekly. Who knows? I might even start writing a weekly motivational message. The sky's the limit. But for now, let's just get through this first ever video blog and see what happens. Even though it's taken me months to get this first blog off the ground, I know now that I've started it, it will become a big part of my message going forward. You see, when I commit to something in my heart and mind, there is no way that it's not going to happen. Whether it's biking long distances for the annual MS ride or finding a way to get another beloved Mini Cooper after my first one got crushed by a truck, or earning my competent communicator at Toastmasters despite my fear of public speaking. When I decide I'm doing something, I'm doing it. Some would say I'm tenacious. I consider that a huge compliment. Without my tenacity, I probably would not have learned to thrive while living with MS. You may have noticed that I said thrive with MS and not survive with MS. I'm not here to just survive. I deserve way better than that, and I hope you believe that you do too. So where did all this tenacity come from, you're asking? You see, I learned that little trick at Toastmasters. Ask the audience a question to keep them engaged. It always works on stage, so I suspect it will work here too, even if I can't see you or hear your reactions. The way I see it, my tenacity came from three primary teachers: my mom, Myra, my paternal grandma, Blanche, and Mr. Rogers. I'll get to Mr. Rogers and his neighborhood in just a minute, but let me quickly start with my mom and my grandma. I was first diagnosed with MS back in 1981 when I was 15 years old. As I sat in the hospital bed reeling from all the tests and the news of my recent diagnosis, my mother looked at me and said, "You're going to sit up in that chair for a few minutes every day until you can sit up like a normal human being." My head was pounding and I was in excruciating pain from the spinal tap. And my first thought was, what the fudge is wrong with you, Mom? But as I sat with it for a moment, I realized that my mother was giving me exactly what I needed in that moment in time. I needed a little tough love, so I didn't go down a path of feeling sorry for myself for the rest of my life. That's where my tenacity really started to take root. The seeds were already there. In fact, I remember when I was a girl and people used to compare me to my grandma Blanche. People used to say I was her spitting image, which is typically not a compliment that a young teenage girl wants to hear. I realize now that what they saw in me was not just a bit of a likeness, but what they saw was more of an energy. Grandma Blanche was a bit of a fireball, and I'm so proud that people see some of her tenacity living in me to this day. We all have a lot of teachers and mentors in our family lineage, but often our most powerful teachings come from somebody outside of our family. For me, one of those teachers was Mr. Rogers. Now, you're probably picturing the famous Fred Rogers in your mind with the tennis shoes and the cardigan sweater. For sure, he was a good guy and a great teacher, but my Mr. Rogers was my 9th grade geometry teacher, Burke Rogers. So I was in 9th grade when I was diagnosed with MS, and the part of my brain that was damaged was my spatial relations function. Geometry is obviously spatial relations, and my brain wasn't going to figure this out in any fashion. It wasn't me being a negative thinker. It wasn't a teenager who didn't want to do her homework. It was just me being realistic. I tried so hard. I spent every day after class with Mr. Rogers getting tutored, and regardless of how hard I tried, I totally failed that class. Now, back then at my high school, we also got grades for effort, with 1 being tried the hardest and 3 being didn't try at all. I got a 1, so not only did I fail the class, but I failed it totally and completely while trying my absolute hardest. What's clear to me now, though, as I think about it, is that Burke Rogers, who I didn't even really understand and actually found him to be kind of creepy, he taught me about staying the course. He taught me to stay determined even under the shadow of imminent failure. And that strengthened my resolve and gave me even more tenacity. And it still pays off to this day. When I set my goal to raise $40,000 for Bike MS on my 40th anniversary, I was more than doubling my highest ever goal. People thought I was setting myself up for failure. Frankly, there were plenty of times that I thought I was out of my mind to have set such an aggressive goal. And then just last month, on September 30th, on the very last day of the fiscal year, as I sat there below my goal and ready to accept whatever happened, knowing that all my loyal donors had given me so much already, I made one final appeal in the shadow of imminent failure. And wouldn't you know it, by the end of the day, I had not only reached my personal goal, but I had exceeded it by a comfortable margin. Yay me! It may have taken me a while to get this first ever video blog off the ground, but thanks to my mom, Grandma Blanche, and Mr. Rogers, I'm highly confident this won't be the last. I've got a lot of stories to share. I've got a passion to inspire others to believe in themselves. I've got tons of amazing friends and family. I've got a great therapist and an amazing coach, and all the tenacity I could ever need. Now, if I could just manifest a handsome cameraman and a talented video editor, my life would be nearly complete. Love and hugs to each and every one of you. Until next time, ciao, ciao.